Bien, ya estamos de regreso y vamos a dar paso a la segunda presentación de esta mañana. Les recordamos a ustedes que la presentación, dado que el idioma de origen de nuestra charlista es el idioma inglés, rogamos a ustedes, si desean escuchar la charla en español, tomar la sala que dice traducción, por favor, mientras nosotros hacemos la introducción, para que tengan tiempo de hacer el cambio, aquellos que estén en la sala de origen, que es la sala en inglés. Y por otro lado, recuerden que todas las consultas que ustedes pueden ir haciendo a lo largo de toda la presentación se van a responder una vez que esta concluya. Por lo tanto, rogamos ingresar al chat para poder ingresar sus comentarios o consultas, de tal manera que hacia el final de la intervención nosotros podamos dar una pronta respuesta a ellas. Dicho esto, vamos a dar inicio a la presentación. En un momento en que la industria de la carne roja está siendo atacada por activistas contra la carne y la desinformación, Quality Meat Scotland se vincula con el extenso trabajo que ya se está realizando para promover y comercializar la carne roja a los consumidores de todo el mundo. Lesley Cameron es directora de Marketing y Comunicaciones en Quality Meat Scotland y nos mostrará un camino muy, pero muy interesante que busca la generación de una imagen positiva sobre las carnes rojas en Escocia y el fortalecimiento además de sus marcas. Esperamos que la ponencia titulada Tengamos una conversación positiva sobre carnes rojas nos pueda ampliar la visión de nuestro rango de acción en esta materia. Invitamos entonces muy cordialmente a Lesley Cameron a realizar su presentación. Adelante, Lesley, cuando usted quiera.
Good morning. Following on from Alan's presentation, I have worked with QMS now for over a year and a half. My presentation's around keeping the Scotch brand ahead of our competition. So I started 6 months ago, and my first job was to do what we would call a brand health check. And that has an audit cycle. But for me, the key objective was to ensure that our brands were relevant. So that's our Scotch beef PGI, Scotch lamb PGI, and specially selected pork. And I wanted to ensure that our brands aligned with our consumers' values and beliefs, and also that our brands aligned with a younger demographic. So I conducted a full review. And to ensure that the brands were relevant, we did different levels of insight, from YouGov studies to consumer research, which helped myself and the team redefine our target audience. And the objective was to, what we would say, move the dial down and target a younger demographic. From there, we defined the relevant media channels that were appropriate to communicate with our new demographic, the content that we were going to serve them with, and we set tangible KPIs. And at the end of this year, we will measure, and again, we will involve. The review. I wanted to show you where we were in 2019 and where we are today. And I think the word I would use is a revolution. So back in 2019, we were very much about ensuring that consumers would look for the label, the Scotch beef brand or the Scotch lamb brand or specially selected pork. In 2020, we knew that consumers were reducing their meat consumption. Alan touched on the flexitarian. We knew that they were still consuming meat, but what we wanted to ensure in our communication was when they ate red meat, they made it the best. And that was where our Make It campaign evolved. And 2020 became a little bit of a different strategy because we were in COVID. We were seeing people that were eating more red meat, and they were cooking it and looking for recipe inspiration, and they were scratch cooking. So 2020 was about really re-establishing our brand with that younger market. And 2021, well, you can see how we've evolved. We haven't lost our make it piece, but we're making our brand relevant to that 18 to 39-year-old target market. And the types of things that we're talking about is Bosch your burger. So it's make it the best burger ever, and it's got field cred. And it's that credibility of the Scotch brand, that meat with integrity that like flows through everything we do and say. And you can see it's very small, but you can see that we have a tick list that tells the consumer what our major point of difference is. We're locally sourced, we're quality assured, we're expertly reared, we're totally traceable, and our brand gives you peace of mind. And it also is high in vitamin B12, which is something that you cannot get from a vegan diet naturally. I spoke to you within our audit process, redefining our target market. Our new primary audience is what we're calling the flexitarian unconscious meat reducer. They are 5 cluster groups, and we target them with the relevant marketing communication. Within the UK, we have 7.9 million people that classify themselves flexitarian. So, you know, they're not only a threat because they're meat reducing, but they're also an opportunity. And they do want to hear from us. The insight that I spoke to you about, ask them, are you interested in consuming red meat? And they very much were. But there was pillars or there was key communication that they needed to understand about our brand versus its competitors. And I'll touch on some of the components that are within our marketing mix when we talk to them on social media and the relevant channels. So the insight helped us align our Scotch brand with their consumer values and beliefs. And they split into the pillars I touched on. And that's very much about cooking inspiration, your scratch cooking, your bespoke portioning and cuts that you get from your butchers, that in-home food service recipe inspiration, and the real seasonal cooking being the barbecues, being the fire pits cookouts, the wild cookouts that we're seeing in outdoors, and really mixing that recipe and meat inspiration with flavour trends that you will see coming from the likes of your country and different countries all around the world. The other key component is sustainability, and that is a big tick for them. They need to understand that their meat is local, that it is farmed sustainably, that what is the big difference between Scotch, British, Irish, Brazilian. So really us talking about our sustainability credentials and how that a lot of our animals are grass reared and they are happy. That helps us move into the Scotch difference. So it's very much about animal welfare, the climate and our farming difference, because within Scotland, a lot of the outdoors where our animals are reared can't be used for anything else apart from grazing sheep. And the fact that everything within our farming process is as natural and sustainable as it can be. The other area that they wanted to understand was economics, and really a lot of the stuff that Sarah will talk you through. But we needed to ensure that we were future-proofing our brand, so ensuring that we were horizon scanning, making sure that we were evolving with the way the market was evolving. We've seen Brexit, we've seen COVID, so really making sure that a lot of our communications underpin the future of the UK market. And the big piece that we had never done until I started within my role was the kind of aligning with their lifestyles. So what mattered to them? What were they doing within that lifestyle? And it was very much outdoors. It was very much sporting. They wanted to believe in trusted brands that have really strong values. The other thing was immunity, natural immunity, and vitamin B12 very much helps you with that as well. So that is a real health benefit that we've got. And the great thing, the protein within red meat as well helps that performance when you're outdoors and you're doing that really natural sporting type of outdoors activity that they like. So I touched upon field cred, and this is the campaign that we're currently running in the UK now. And I'll chat you through some of the different media channels that we're using to get that sustainability, that really great credentials over about the Scotch difference and the provenance and all the outdoors things. So The activity that we're running at the moment, we're not on national television, but we're on what you would call video on demand, because a younger target market is more interested in watching things on their tablets, their laptops, their phones. So we're targeting them through video on demand. So working with partners that reach them, television channels like Sky and All For and STV Clear. So they are served with our field cred messaging, and our field cred messaging is also 3D as well. So when you're served with that message, your burger or your lamb salad actually comes out of your screen and it interrupts your viewing and actually provides some stimulus, which is quite exciting. We also are working with Spotify, so doing a lot of audio streaming and podcasts on our Spotify channel. So working with the likes of key influencers there. So you will have within your market people that will be able to spread the good word for you. So working with those influencers and doing podcasts and doing audio streaming is certainly working very well for us. And then the other piece is what we're calling our outdoors, our out of home. So ensuring that consumers, before they go into the retail outlets or into their butchers, that they're getting served in an outdoor capacity with the messaging to why, if they're making a meat choice when they go into their butchers or if they go into their local retailers, why they should buy Scotch. So we're trying to attract them at every point in their shopper journey. So that pre-awareness, that in-store awareness, and that loyalty afterwards. We're also, digital and social media plays a very, very strong part of our marketing strategy. And, you know, we have very much invested in video content and podcast content. That's working really well for us. We know when we talk about the Scotch difference from farming right through to the butcher's point of difference, if we were to play a video, we get like a massive amount of views, we get sharing, we get what we would call user-generated content. So they start to talk about our brand. The engagement levels with video and podcast work really well. And we ensure that we use insight and what you would call social listening to align the messages back to their values. So we join the conversation in a way that we're engaging and we're talking to them in a language that they understand and want to hear about. We do paid, what we would call paid media. So where that demographic is onto the internet, they will be served with messaging, that 3D component that might be our burger advert, and it tells them why they should buy Scotch. We also have a lot of PR, and I won't go into too much about it, but it does play part of the marketing mix. And in Scotland, unlike Chile, we have a lot of midges, which are little biting flies. So we've been doing a lot of fun midgie hacks, and we've created a marinade that goes on your steak or your burger that when you pop it on the barbecue scares the midges away. So there is a bit of humour around our marketing as well, which is creating the engagement on the likes of the platforms like Instagram and TikTok. We have one user that's made our marinade that has had 57,000 views of his video. And so influencers play a really strong part in our marketing strategy and spreading that cred and spreading the word, because the more people that we get talking about our brand, it's that traditional word of mouth, but using social media and influencers to do that and working with the right partners to spread that kind of joy and that cred. And again, you've got your influencers there that I've spoken about. We work with outdoor influencers. So you've got people that are crazy enough in the winter to jump in a loch in Scotland or jump in the sea, do a beautiful outdoor swim, and then maybe cook a steak on their portable, sustainable barbecue. So it's really tapping into that community. And again, that community aligns with our target market, which makes us relevant to them. We've redesigned our Scotch Kitchen website. So again, getting a little bit more of the traditional stuff coming through. So out with your bosh your burger or snazz up your salad, we've got the traditional recipes, bringing that international flavour trend coming through. So focusing on the things that they want to eat, which aren't traditional, which sometimes can be quite difficult with our stakeholders, because our stakeholders feel that it should be a Sunday roast or it should be mince and and potatoes, which is a traditional Scottish dish, but actually they're looking for that international cuisine. So everything with a bit of a twist, that's what we're trying to do. And the big piece for us is integrating that in store. So working with our partners, our butchers, Alan touched upon, we have a butchers club and a very bespoke butcher strategy to ensure we talk about the value that a butcher brings, and also working with our retail partners. You'll have a lot of big retailers out there that you will be targeting to get listings. We have been working with the likes of Asda, who are Walmart in the States and out in sort of North America. We work with Sainsbury's, we work with Tesco. So really trying to get that in-store execution so they're seeing our brands at all points of the shopper journey. And the big thing for us is, for me, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. You know, a marketing campaign needs to have a return on investment. So what are we looking to achieve at the end of our summer campaign? We're looking to increase our market share. We're looking to increase our sales value and our volume. Customer penetration. So when I talk about customer penetration, that's that younger demographic. Have we brought more consumers into the category? Has that weekly rate of sale in retail gone up because we have got sustainable customers that are buying on a more frequent basis? The big thing is the attitudinal change. So going back to a point that Alan made about vegans, flexitarians believe that meat is bad for them. However, we want to track their perception to ensure that they still believe in our brand. So attitudinal change and perception tracking is something of a key measure that we're now using. And again, we use our YouGov polls to be able to do that. So we send out questionnaires through YouGov to talk to them about, is our brand still relevant? Is our sustainability credentials ticking your box? Will you still purchase our brands over one of our competitors' brands? And again, everything is about reviewing, measuring, and evolving. You've seen the revolution. We've done that now. What we'll be doing over the next kind of 3 years is just evolving that make it with cred piece, not changing fundamentally, just ensuring that we are still relevant to that younger target audience whilst keeping the older demographic happy with the messaging with them. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. So I would like to thank you for your time, and I will hand back over to Veronica for any questions you may have.
Agradecemos a Lesley Cameron por su presentación. Sin duda alguna, ya tengo algunos contactos internos de parte de socios de la Corporación del Área Industrial que están bastante interesados en el trabajo que están realizando ustedes en este sentido. Sería interesante para varios auditores saber, porque en Chile la verdad es que nosotros no tenemos este sistema similar de realización de campañas ni una estructura tan sólida en el ámbito de la concientización o de la difusión hacia los consumidores. Por lo tanto, ¿cuántos consideran ustedes que en la experiencia que han tenido en Quality Meat Scotland es un presupuesto base para poder iniciar una campaña de este tipo en las condiciones actuales?
She said this is very interesting what you were mentioning. She also has many people on her list that would be very interested in this because in Chile we do not have a marketing campaign like this that goes directly to the consumers. And the question that she would like to ask is, how did Quality Meat Scotland, what was the basic budget for a campaign similar like this? How did you come up with the basic budget?
If you were starting from scratch, we have marketing has a 1.4 million budget, which is large. But if you were starting from scratch, if you do your insight, so going back to insight, so if you do the insight properly, you understand, if you work back from your target market, if that be a younger generation, you work back from what is relevant to them, and you start with using the right platforms, say for argument's sake, social media, and getting your messaging out, you could, depending on the return on investment, I would say that if you look at your turnover and reinvest about 14% of that into your marketing, that would be a good scale. So £100,000, 14%. It just depends on what your turnover would be and what you would want to invest.
Ella dice, si ustedes empiezan del inicio, ya depende del mercado que usted quiere llegar, puede llegar a ser uno. Ellos tienen para el marketing, para su departamento, tienen 1,4 millones de libras. Pero si usted quiere empezar desde el inicio, por ejemplo, de la percepción de su audiencia y tener cuáles son los programas que ustedes quieren hacer, cuál es el mercado de objetivo, por ejemplo, esta generación más joven, cuál es la plataforma relevantes que ustedes quieren usar, cuál es el mensaje que quieren entregar, y también depende del retorno de la inversión que ustedes tienen. Por ejemplo, puede ser un 14% de los retornos de todo lo que ustedes han invertido. Por ejemplo, si tienen 100,000 libras, depende de eso, ustedes con 14% de esos 100,000 libras pueden hacer una campaña de publicidad como esto.
Muchas gracias. Hay una pregunta similar. Que en el fondo también apunta, en el caso de Escocia, cómo se financia esta promoción de la carne y cuánto es el porcentaje de las ventas expresado en dólares del total, si se usa para promoción.
This question is very similar. They were talking about in Scotland, how do you finance this kind of campaign? What is the percentage that you use of your sales to be able to finance this kind of campaign?
So we are slightly different to a normal business. So we are funded by levy money. So the levy that Alan has spoken about comes into Quality Meat Scotland, and it is calculated across the different departments. So we're slightly different to how a normal business model would be. But if I were the processor that was processing the meat and doing the marketing, from what you would call core marketing, I would say a good investment would be about 14%. Then you would have what you would call the cost of business, dealing with either the channel being the retailer or the butcher. So that would come out of the pot or the funding that you have when you're selling into them. So you've got two different pots of money, one that would be deemed more commercial, and that would be your point of purchase promotional spend, and then you've got your marketing support to talk to the consumer directly about your brand. So on average 14% of turnover for marketing, then a percentage of promotional spend with the channel that you're working within, if that makes sense.
Ella dice, depende, porque en Escocia las cosas son muy diferentes, porque lo que ellos son es un negocio muy diferente. Ellos usan dinero de imposiciones, dinero de impuestos, ya levy. Y ellos calculan de los diferentes departamentos. Por ejemplo, si yo soy un procesador y yo quiero llegar al mercado, entonces yo normalmente uso un 14% de lo que ingresa de mis procesamientos. Eso se llama el costo de negocios. Y ahora depende del tipo de canal que tú quieres usar. Por ejemplo, si quieres usar el carnicero, él tendría que sacar tú ves qué es lo que él quiere comprar y con eso tú sacas tu cálculo, pero normalmente sería 14%, pero hay dos diferentes formas que tú podrías calcular esto. Entonces ella habla también del apoyo del mercado, cuál es el mensaje que quieres entregar al mercado, cuáles son las plataformas. Y así para ella siempre es como 14% de los ingresos que del negocio, el costo de negocio.
Bien, deseamos agradecer a Lesley. Me imagino que este en particular es un tema que en Chile va a ser un tema muy importante en la cadena productiva. tanto en la relación entre el sector privado como en las mesas público-privadas que se generan para este fin. Entusiasma mucho ver el camino que ustedes han llevado en este sentido y los felicitamos además porque tienen una campaña promocional de carne que es apetitosa solamente de verlo, así que agradecer a Lesley por el tiempo entregado en esta presentación y bueno, y una vez traducido esto, vamos a hacer otra pequeña pausa para volver con Inia. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Lesley, for your presentation. This in Chile is very exciting for us because they really enjoyed how you combine the public and the private and how you are bringing out this idea, your message to the people. And so for us, it was very, very exciting to see the way that you have done this. And they want to congratulate you for your promotional campaign that you are doing. And undoubtedly, we would like to do something like that here in Chile. So after we say goodbye to you and thank you so much for everything that you've done, we will have a brief pause.
So thank you, Lesley.